Yeah.
Did you start it?
I have started it now.
All right.
I'm Pat.
Hey, I'm Jeffrey.
This is coffee before bed.
Yeah, it is.
We're discussing Jeff's pending nosebleed.
It feels like it. I feel like I'm on the verge of it. Like it started a couple of times, but it just hasn't.
Got it.
Yeah, I there's rumors like swimming around the Pacific that there's a sneak attack coming, but
What's up, Pearl Harbor?
but it hasn't struck. Yeah.
Right. There's a ripple in the force. So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think cold coffee next week. Yeah. Now that I've thought about it. Because we had hot coffee the other night. You made cold coffee last week.
Yeah.
That was good.
Well, I mean, I like both.
Yeah, I do too.
But you know what's funny is that I think I made the hot coffee on a day when it was like 69 degrees out. It's like, okay, this actually matches,
Yeah.
right? Because they haven't all been like scorcher days. In fact, today was probably the hottest in a while, and it was downright tolerable.
Yeah, today wasn't bad. Yeah. No, my electric bill hasn't been bad this year, even with my AC running. So, yeah. You should get an air conditioner, dude. They're not that expensive. So,
No, it's not that.
what?
Um, I have baked in electric costs.
Oh, that's right. We were just talking about
That's what it
Yeah,
was.
got
I
it.
was
Okay.
chuckling about.
Got it, yeah. So, I don't know. How do you offset that, though? I mean,
Well,
solar panels wouldn't help you or anything with that.
they could.
Really?
Yeah, they could. My brother has them.
Yeah, but he's not necessarily like I don't know how much does it. Well, I guess it depends on how much you mine. Is how much power you actually consume, correct?
Yes and no. There are a couple of factors that go into that.
Okay.
All right, so I want you to think about the mechanisms at play when it comes to essentially mining.
Right.
So ultimately, the base mechanism is you're telling the video card to do math.
Right.
Okay, so there's going to be a power draw to make it do math. What is the secondary power draw?
I don't know.
Well, all right. So if you tell something to do something at max capacity,
Uh-huh.
right, and it's an electronic product, it's going to heat up.
Oh, so you need to cool it down.
Correct. So
Okay.
depending on what level you want to run this, right, your internal fans are going to be running at whatever speed that would be. So that's a secondary power draw. The other thing is if you have any kind of like external factors on that can cool that down. So
So like a shop fan.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like that, or the nice thing is, say, like in the winter, right?
Oh yeah, he just opened a window.
I do that now. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you just open the window, and my favorite thing to do is basically like, so I have that. It's weird because the design of this house, you remember it,
Yeah.
is that the laundry room is sort of like a protrusion,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so you just that's out there, but it has a door, so it's 30 degrees out, but you're going to heat the room with your equipment, so you just open the window in the winter,
And close the door.
close the door.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, because otherwise you'd be mining in like your garage or something, and man, that shit gets stole so fast. So
It's not even a question of stole, man.
yeah.
Your garage is just going to be circulating dust.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be horrifying. I mean, unless you like exile your car out of your garage. So
That's not a life worth living.
no, that's not. So- Blasphemous.
I was gonna say, do we have any driveway parkers in the audience?
I am a driveway parker just because.
My heart goes out to you.
Yeah.
No, I know why you're a driveway parker. Because wife comes first.
Right. Yeah. So she gets the garage spot. So I could be a driveway parker. I could be a garage parker if I really wanted to rearrange some shit in my garage, but I don't want to.
No, that's fine. Look, as long as you want to play act like you're still in the peasant class, because you park outside.
I can't do that, man. You should see my neighborhood, man. I live in a private neighborhood. So I finally did get a nasty gram from my HOA about my weeds. So
What weeds?
my yard is covered in green weeds. So
Is everyone's?
no, most of theirs are grass.
What a waste.
So yeah, but I finally got a letter. They gave me a warning. They say that if you do not rectify this and it didn't specify within a certain amount of time, I'm assuming the next time the board meets, which will be another month, then they give me a second warning. So
Okay.
and then after that, I get a third warning, which comes with a $25 fine. So, and then if I ignore that, I get a fourth warning, which keeps the $25 fine, adds another $25 fine to it.
Okay.
So at which point in time, at the fifth warning, okay, is when they will consider leaning against my property for $50.
Right.
The exception to this, if it's actually a code violation.
Right.
Yeah, and then it's $25 a day. So, meaning that, like, you know, if it's actually city code violation, yeah, which means they'll just tell the city on me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's frankly, I don't know why the HOA just doesn't do the thing where, all right, we're gonna fine you $25, and then after the second time, then usually the warning is, then we'll have them removed at your expense. Right.
Yeah, so my wife looked at the letter and using her like instantaneous
Deduction.
like just like looking at it cursorily as an attorney, she was
Right.
like, there's nothing here that's enforceable. You know, kind of thing. And she was like, look at this part right here where it says they'll do this, but then this part over here they said they won't do this, but they'll do this instead. She says that means right there that they can't really enforce either. So
Right.
you know, and she was like, I'm kind of tempted to fight them. I'm like, it's $25. I'm just gonna go out there and spray the weeds. It'll be fine. So, but yeah, they finally did send me something after my knee-high weeds.
Oh, they're that bad?
They're pretty bad. So it's legit.
Yeah, look, I know I need to go back there and take care of mine, but there's a whole bunch of like broken fence shit that
I saw their hole over there, man. Driving back from the bar.
seen
the
it
other
now?
day,
Yeah. So that is supposed to be Tuesday.
Did you get a landscaper?
I had to do this as two different people. So I had one person as tree removal, one person as fence fixing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the trees have already been, the damaged trees have already been removed,
Oh,
but
okay.
the like the fence debris is all supposed to be taken at once when they tear down the fence.
Well, they'll just throw it in the chipper, right? Oh, no, you're right. When they do the fence, they'll take the old one.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's the disposal is part of that. Yeah, chip that shit. Fucking nails and screws just
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you want to get those out of
flying
there.
out. Yeah.
When they shoot out the other end and kill people. You know, on that busy street over there.
Now,
So get shot at.
I think for them that'll be easy to replace at this point, because over there, since they have the quote unquote bike lane that nobody treats like a bike lane, they treat it like a turn lane or a breakdown lane. I think they're just gonna park the fencing truck back there and just do all their work from it.
Probably.
Which be super easy.
Be way easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't think I ever see anybody biking on that street.
So it's kind of your own death warrant. I
Yeah.
mean, actually, I've seen plenty of people biking on there. They just do it on the sidewalk.
Right, yeah, otherwise you're gonna die.
Yeah.
So yeah. There's a couple streets in town that are like that. So like coming down the hill from UCCS, man, there's that bike lane there
Fuck
that
that.
crosses across the merge lane that comes up off Union.
Yeah.
So, and you know, cars come flying ass up that thing because they know that they need to merge and people are going to be coming flying down. I want to say, you're going to get murdered on that thing, man.
I don't know. Look, and to be fair, it's your spot, but I hate to invoke that again, but you can be right all you want when you're dead.
Yeah. So, oh man, yeah, no, there's a couple of those. Like downtown, there's a whole bunch of places now where they've killed off extra lanes in order to make bike lanes and like street parking.
Got it.
Yeah.
Totally understand.
Yeah. So I can see people using those, but like some of the roads around here where if you actually want a fucking bikeable city, that's impossible. You just need to move.
Yes, or you have to understand the series of trails around you. So fortunately for us, we have the Homestead Trail that actually will take you a good fair distance if you want to cross there in any kind of like by foot or by I don't know, bike.
Yeah.
I don't know, light rail.
I've seen people bike a light rail. The RTD.
Yeah, so there's places for it, and if you really are diligent about it, like they're doing downtown, or God help you, the entire city of Boulder, then yeah, it's totally safe.
Yeah, and I haven't been to Boulder in a while.
No, me neither, but I don't really have a reason.
No, I think last time, I can't remember. It's been a few years, but we drove through there. I think we were going up to the Stanley, actually.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and we just decided, fuck it, let's go through Boulder and go look at the old neighborhood, So
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, because we used to live there. So, and then it was, it just like nothing had really changed. Like there were a couple higher buildings on campus, that you could tell were new dorm projects and things. Boulder's never been the cleanest city, so
Still filthy. It's not.
So like I was in downtown Denver like maybe a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boulder has a lot of personality. Downtown Denver's fucking weird now, man. Have you been up there in the last like 2 years?
No.
Yeah. So it'd probably been about 5-6 years. Well, maybe, yeah, it actually probably had been, because I think the last time I went to a baseball game down there was with my dad. So
yeah, I've been there like maybe 3 years ago. So I don't know how different it is from then, but yeah.
There are little scooters everywhere. Those little e-scooters.
I've seen those,
they're fucking everywhere. And so the last time I was in Denver, those were not there. So
they were there when I was there last.
Oh my god! And it's just like completely different. And like everybody in this neighborhood that I was in, which was pretty close to 16th Street. So like you just walking down the street, and it is like everything is tattoos and face tackle.
All right.
Yeah, and I don't remember it being that way, or at least maybe not by the ballpark.
What time of day was it?
This was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
All right. So the last time I was legitimately downtown, I was on 17th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference was this was 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So there were a few people, like you talked about, basically, they have a decoration for each mental defect they have. But
it's just like cyberpunk land, man.
It is, yeah. You see people, it's like, okay, so you have a new tattoo for every therapy session you've skipped, and but if you're
so like scratches on the prison wall, So, yeah.
But if you're there early in the morning, it's all suits.
Yeah, okay.
It's all suits, and I think later on is when, yeah, like you mentioned, the cyberpunk crowd comes out, the body modifiers, the freaks,
I guess, man, maybe it was because I wasn't near a sports venue, and so because usually when I go to downtown Denver, man, it's like Rocky's game.
Sure.
And so, like, you just have the great white unwashed pieces of America come out from all over the state, to show up there and go to the big city and watch a ball game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but, like, seeing Denver's, like, native crowd was kind of jarring. And, I fucking lived in Denver for a while, man. And so, well, I didn't live in downtown Denver. But,
I don't know how you could afford that.
I don't know how you can afford that either. So, and none of these people look like they could afford it. So, without the help of trust funds or something, or direct sales,
yeah,
something. But it was kind of a culture shock, man. So, and I got a parking ticket.
Right.
God damn it, man. This got fucking pissed me off because I go and I park in this parking lot. Okay, it's one of the pay ones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not driving 6. I know exactly where I'm going. All right, so I'm not driving around 6 fucking blocks to find an open meter. All right, especially when I'm going to be here for more than an hour. All right.
Yeah.
So I pull in and it's those rape you lot. And he sells 20, 30 bucks or whatever. You know, and it's like fine.
No, it's funny. I'm actually just picturing like that's the name of the lot. You know, with a cartoon U or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, rape
like,
you.
Yeah. Like the P is backwards.
Rape a lot. so, so anyway,
parked in that lot.
yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. Oh no, you didn't park in this lot. Because let me tell you the story on this one. So I park in this lot. I'm looking around for the little booth, the fucking kiosk thing. Okay, that you go and you punch your license plate number in. And so I'm looking for it. I'm like, where the fuck is this thing? And so I look over and it's like, oh, it's against the building over there. So I go over there. All right, punch in my shit, and it's like, cool, you know, thank you for your 30 bucks or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I go put my receipt in the dash, okay, or no, I just threw it on my seat, okay, because that's what I usually do, so I know that I'll pick it up. So, and I go and I have dinner with this guy, all right. So and then everything's cool. Well, actually, it was like late lunch, early dinner, 4 o'clock. So I was out of there by 6. All right, kind of thing. Go out there, everything's fine. Drive home. Blew a tire on I-25, which was fun.
Oh,
dude, like legit at speed, blew a tire, shredded the motherfucker. So yeah, so it's into my trunk right now. I gotta go take that in, but I've always got a full size spare, so it's just like, all right, take 5 seconds to change. I gotta tell you, man, my Toyota handled it like a champ, dude. So it's just like all of a sudden I hear this, and it's like, oh shit, that's me. You know. So once I realized there's not a giant fucking truck, you know, with tractor tires on it next to me, I was like, nope, that's me. But by the time I was able to slow down from 80 miles an hour, all right, the fucking smoke and all the shit, and you know, get outside and stupidly grab the tire. Yeah. So,
you fucking one of the men in black.
didn't even think about it, man. Didn't even think about it.
All your fingerprints.
No, didn't even think about it. Just like instantaneously regretted that. So as soon as I got the bolts off. But anyway, so I get back. All right, like a week later is when we go on the trip. All right, and so it's another week and a half before we get back home, so to speak. And sure as shit, I got a fucking parking ticket. And I'm like, what the
For what?
For parking in that lot. I'm like, you gotta be fucking shitting me.
But you had a ticket. There.
Exactly. And so I get online. They say you have like 3 days to appeal this. I was on my last day. Okay. And I was like, okay, so let me go find the ticket. Yep. Got the ticket. All right. You got pictures of my car. This matches the license plate. All I have to do is send you a picture of this ticket. So do all the thing. It takes them like maybe 20 minutes to email me back.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's the wrong lot. So it's like, we don't own that one. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And they're like, well, look, we'll be cool about it and we'll just charge you the 30 bucks.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, sweet,
yeah.
awesome. But, you know, the other one's, of course, not going to give me my money back. So, and I get on fucking Google Earth, all right, to look at this shit, or maps to look at this shit. And sure enough, there are 2 goddamn lots right next to each other, okay, that both have the same fucking, like, kiosks, all right? And one of the lots is just a single strip of cars. Okay, that's the kiosk that I went to.
What?
I know, dude, it's weird. And so the only thing that I can think of is like somebody owned this like little strip of land, all right, and they didn't know what to do with it, so they're gonna turn it into a fucking parking lot, even though it's right next to another parking lot. So,
dude, I guarantee you they get that email 20 times a day.
and that's why I think I got it back so fast, you know. But they were very clear about it. They were like, "Look, it's not the right. It's you parked in this lot. That's for that lot." So we'll just charge you 30 bucks, but you got to pay us. So, and I was like, fair enough. I'll eat the 30 bucks.
Well, because that's what you were going to pay anyway, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess in total it cost me 60. So yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but whatever. Anyway, it was dumb. So that's why I don't live in an urban area. So.
Yeah, my understanding is that same trip in Manhattan that would have cost you $63.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
which is just absurd.
That's crazy. I would even take a car into Manhattan, man.
No.
So, and you know, that's kind of ironic thing was that, like, where I was actually going to eat with this guy, there was actually an RTD stop right there. So, you know, and I thought about it pulling in. I was like, man, maybe I'll just pull into Lincoln and ride the train.
Right.
So, but then I was like, oh, it's going to be $20 both ways. So I was like, fuck it. We'll just go into town, you know? So.
Into town.
Into town. Well, yeah, because that's what we always used to do. We used to drive either up to, what is it? We drive up to the Santa Fe station, which is the big lot where all the trains kind of come together.
Right.
So, or we just say fuck it and get off, especially if it was going to be like a game day thing.
Yeah.
And you know you're going to hit traffic the minute that you lay eyes on Arapahoe. And so it's just fuck it, get off at Lincoln and ride the train all the way up. So, which is usually a good plan. You know, but I was sitting there thinking, I was like, it's $20 each way, fuck that. You know, I'll just go park.
Which I think would be the technique if anything were to work here, which at this point you're donezo. This is there's really nothing here. Like if I took a City Skylines eye to Colorado Springs and said, all right, how am I going to implement a mass transit system that works? And I've got the money cheat on, I still wouldn't do it because the layout is so miserable. But I mean, I could see
It's pretty miserable.
for that. Yeah. It's small dots of central shopping in between big oat clusters of suburbia.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if anything, if they did something like that where it's a pull in and this is like the crosstown RTD or rail or subway or something that goes to downtown, or this is the one that goes to up north.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and then they have basically a line that runs between those areas, like at all times of the day. Like, okay, so if you just like, launch to here, then, transfer over to this spot, here's your spot. I'm like, okay, I got it. And then of course you'd have the one where it's like, all right, park here, this will take you to Denver, or park here, this will take you to Pueblo.
Right.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's what they keep talking about with Amtrak. I'm sorry, Scamtrak.
Those guys,
So,
they're looking to do business here?
no, they keep trying to get them to go into Pueblo so that eventually they can do that, like,
Oh, the corridor.
the corridor that goes
Yeah.
all the way up to Cheyenne. So, and even if they did all the things there, I still would not ride the fucking train to Pueblo. So,
Why?
because, like, by the time I got left my house, drove downtown, found a place to park, waited for the train, okay, maybe I can time it really well if they run an efficient schedule, which would not happen. Okay, so, and then get down to Pueblo. What the fuck am I going to do in Pueblo? I got to wait for a transfer bus to get up to the university or something like that? Fuck that.
Oh, right. Right.
Or like, even if you're going to like downtown Pueblo or something like that, which I do that occasionally as well, because there's functions that go on there, in a couple different spots down there that I go to, and it like, okay, so those I could walk to, okay, because downtown Pueblo is actually laid out fairly well, so it's not like ours where it's 3 blocks wide and 20 blocks long, or 20 blocks, yeah, it's stupid, and then one of the blocks is nothing but fancy goddamn houses, built in 1885, so yeah, so it's completely retarded, so the way that this town is laid out. The thing that's different between this town and Pueblo is that this town actually grew like a motherfucker, and now there is I completely agree with you. There's no way to skylines this place up. So the only thing left to do is to burn parts of it down.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The consequence of the skylines benefit is the free ability to bulldoze as you please, with no consideration to, but, my dad's had this dealership for 65 years.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm still hitting the button.
Yep. Sorry, Ed Bozarth Jr.
Yeah.
We're blowing your shit up, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about is like, you have to make stops in, like, goddamn Motor City and all these other weird
Oh, yeah.
places, and it's just not designed for it. It's not quite the the hellscape that is Houston, Texas, but you know,
No.
it's still uh
The only solution that you could do here that I think that like via skylines that would actually work is to do
the elevated.
the streetcars. The
We're sort
streetcars
of
would
on the
work.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Because I was
So
thinking that, but just
yeah.
on the top rail. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. And the same thing's true with any rail service going up to Denver, man. And so if you're ever to do that, I mean, the way to do it is to fucking just put the RTD right in between the two lanes of I-25 and hope no trucks crash into it. So, you know,
I would. Yes, you say that. I would also. So there's always going to be a Red Dead Redemption style of pathfinding that my brain makes, where if this is where Colorado Springs ends, then you look on Google Earth and you see where Denver begins, and all you do is you go to the shop and you order like 60 miles of perfectly straight rail. Because whatever happens, you're going to make a directly straight line.
yeah, exactly. It's gonna be like it's like take a yarn and two fucking pegs, and you know, yeah.
Right.
You're gonna tighten it up, you know.
Because, yeah, I've seen that whole thing where they're like, yo, man, like, there's roads and cliffs there. It's like, yeah, I know. This horse can handle it. It's like, no, we can't. No. That's the third one you killed because you refuse to actually walk down the little cliff.
See, in Red Dead 2, your horse would actually throw you.
If you try to do something stupid
Sometimes,
like that.
sometimes if you got him really going, he would just leap right off that cliff with you. But other times, if you got him going, he would skid. And you would go right over the handlebars. So, I don't know, man. So I was actually reading up on that the other day. Not so much Red Dead, but GTA 6. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
it'll still be
news.
another year or so. But
If not more.
yeah.
You guys do take their time.
Yeah, well, I think it was IGN or somebody the other day had a poll out there. It was like, when do you think you'll see a Red Dead 3? And, you know, there are all kinds of guys on there who are hopeful. Oh, well, they'll start working on it as soon as they finish this project. And so it'll be like, you know, 2025. And I was like, you ain't going to see that motherfucker till 2030, man. So.
You know, all right, so I've kind of hit this I've hit this mental wall where I think we've discussed this before. I'm trying to remember the exact figure, but it's something to the tune of the brain can't actually visualize a number greater than like 1100,
Yeah.
right? So if you tried really hard and I said, Patrick, like, sit down, I'm going to pay you $50,000 if you can sit there and visualize 1100 bouncy balls, right? And, like, don't just say you see it, but
Yeah.
actually see it. Like,
Yeah.
see them bouncing at count 1100, right? You're like, you're wasting my time,
Right.
But for me, that's sort of the same thing that comes with, like, games and release dates is it coming out in the next 3 months? Otherwise, it's the future. And
It's beyond the horizon. You know?
so anything that's like beyond 3 months is like we'll have flying cars by then.
Right.
You know, it's just
Yeah.
like it's either coming out like this the next couple of months, or it's George Jetson is buying it. So it's weird. I've taken that perspective now because I have completely. My brain has lost any and all capacity for the same kind of hype that I would build up for things down the road, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm going to sit here and say, like, you know, I'm walking around with my Jean-Paul Sartre book and
Gross.
and being, you know, just like, life has been a series of disappointments. You know, I'm not... You know, I'm not. I'm still jaded by every waffle that comes out and just thickens my palate. And I keep thinking it's going to get better. You know, I'm not like that, but it's just the product is going to be the product. I'm either going to like it or I won't.
Right.
I'll be interested. Or, God help me, every now and then, I feel like the anticipation for future products is the kind of thing that stopped me from enjoying products in the current moment. And I did that for a long time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's good to like kind of touch base with some of the things that you have, you know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, because like Red Dead 2, I definitely got my money's worth out of that game.
I know you did.
Oh, yeah, I played the fuck out of that one.
I think you loved it the same way you loved the first one, though.
No, not really. It got weird. So, compared to the first one. So, like, you and I have talked about the first one and how going to Mexico was uniquely different, like, just narrative experience.
Yes.
And then when you came back to America, you were, like, different.
Yeah. You changed, man.
You changed, man. So, they tried to do something very similar in Red Dead 2, but it didn't work. So, they send you the South. And so, parts of it are, like, really interesting, but then there's other parts it was like, this is so fucking hokey, you know, that it's like, okay, there's guys in white hoods raising crosses in the things, and they all talk like yokels.
Right.
These guys are funny, not scary. So they kind of fucked it up, man.
No, that's sort of the DG Ango Unchained thing that they tried to do, which some people thought was genius. All right, I get it.
The only thing funny in that movie is when fucking Quentin Tarantino gets blown to smithereens. So
I guess, yeah. I mean, there's that, and then there's the other weird part where they left it in on purpose. Was the I got shot head on, but I'm gonna fall sideways.
Oh right.
At the end, like. I know you guys had other takes. You guys went with that on purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
I'm not a fan of that movie.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not it's certainly not Tarantino's best work.
Oh.
It's not his worst. It's
Which
just
one do you
in there.
think is his worst? Jackie Brown?
I'd argue that or Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, okay.
And
you
I
and I
don't-
are on the same page on that.
I don't hate Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have its there's just something to it that the only thing going for it was that it felt unique at the time, but it does not stand up for any kind of scrutiny later on, except for the uniqueness that it had at the time.
Right.
It was novel.
Yeah, it was very novel. Yeah, I actually slogged through the Eightful Eight a little while ago.
That's near the bottom. of
It-
the list,
yeah.
but it's not.
I have a little bit more respect for some of the things that's going on in the movie, but it's also goofier than it looks. So yeah. Yeah, whereas every time I watch Inglourious Bastards, I like it more. So
Yeah, and I didn't like it the first time I saw it.
I kind of liked it just because they machine gunned Hitler, and I was like, okay, fine, you went there, sweet, you know. But then I was like, oh, that's kind of dumb. But then you go back and you like sit through the cafe scene, and it's like, oh, this is good. Yeah, exactly.
Like if you asked me to submit a piece of film and say, Jeffrey, the aliens need to know what art is, and I would give them that clip
Yeah.
and say, this is how you do this in motion picture, right?
Yeah.
It would be a toss-up between that or the opening scene.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that one's really good too.
But yeah, when I got to the end part and I was like, what the fuck even is this? I was like, the first time around, I was like, this is so fucking dumb. And then, on rewatches, I realized that the whole purpose was to say, all right, we're gonna pull something on you. Okay? I know this is gonna seem silly, right? You're like, okay, what? It's like,
You're gonna love it, trust me.
it's like, but I didn't. But then, on rewatches, I was like, wow, that's actually, you went for it. And the whole point of going for it was to take your expectation of, look, you and I have seen a ton of like historical movies and certain things, and you're
Sure.
like, you always want things to change. You're always like, maybe they won't get Pearl Harbor this time, or maybe they won't. There's a, you know the inevitability of certain parts of history,
Right.
and you know that's what's coming. Like, there's no time around where you turn around and it's like, wow, they actually, like, countersteered the Titanic.
Right,
They're
yeah.
gonna make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never happens.
They didn't go as fast as they needed to. Yeah.
Right. But they're like, all right, we get it. We know that's what you're waiting on.
Right. Yeah.
Watch this.
Watch this.
The first time I was like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? Who are you? Who are you to sit there?
Yeah. It's a Hitler died in a hail of bullets. Yeah.
And fire and like, oh my god.
At the hands of the bear Jew.
Yeah.
It was just crazy, man.
And then,
But-
then I realized that has so little to do with what the story is actually.
Oh yeah. No, that's not even icing on the cake, man.
Yeah.
So that's a wafer thin mint at the end. So I don't know though, man. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. when we start hearing more about GTA 6. So because I really enjoyed my playthrough of the last one. So because I was very late to that party. So
I was late to that party when I did that, and that was like 8 years ago.
yeah, I know. Yeah. So well, I was not late to the original Red Dead. I saw you and Nate playing it,
Yeah.
and I was like, I need that.
Yeah. That was
I'm gonna go buy an Xbox right now.
that was like week 2.
Right.
Yeah.
They were supposed to remaster that game, and they decided not to do it.
That's fine.
Yeah. No, I don't really have a problem with that either. So, yeah, I played Red Dead Online for a little bit. It was dumb. It was terrible. So, I thought it'd be kind of fun, but it was like, you don't do anything. Yeah. It's like, there's no story. This game doesn't work without a story. So,
Okay, so therein, I can make the case for GTA Online because it knows that it is going off the fucking rails when you play the online. Right?
yeah. That's where
Right.
you have rocket bikes and shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is where the absurdity comes in, and it knows it. And there's not going to be like, well, I can't be upset. It knows what it is,
Right, yeah.
right? And you see a bunch of people running around with like fucking like pink hair and
Yep.
like bear outfits and capes and other weird shit, you know? So it's like, all right.
This is like everybody's bad dream, man.
But you wouldn't do that in the Old West. You wouldn't be like,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
No, it was so like. So I played it for a little bit just to see if there's like more story and stuff.
Sure.
Now, one thing that it did do is it unlocked the entire map, so which was kind of nice. So because when you play Red Dead 2, there's big chunks of the map you can't go to until you get to that part of the story.
Right.
Which is fine.
Right.
Okay. But like, there's parts of the map where by the time you get to them, you're like 60 hours deep in this game, and so you're like, I'm beelining for the fucking story finish, and so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go around and check all this shit out. You know, kind of like you were at the end of Red Dead 1. So
When it was time, it was time.
it was time. Yeah. And then, you know, but like the game itself was just like, well, what do I do? Now it's like, okay, I go get a couple bounties. Cool. So there's only 5 of them, really? So now what do I do? You know, it was like, can I rob this bank? No, I can't do that. So, whereas in GTA, it's like, oh yeah, there's like 1,000 more heists you can plan.
Absolutely.
And stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, okay, that's fucking cool. That would actually be kind of fun to roll with a couple friends on. But it's like Red Dead, they didn't do any of that content. They just threw it out there. So, and said, oh, you guys might want to have gunfights. And it was like, yes, but they last about 8 seconds.
Right.
Because this is Red Dead, not Call of Duty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the respawn points are very far from where the fight is.
Yeah, it's true. It's like, how do I rocket jump in this game?
Right. How
Yeah,
do I
it's
rocket
like,
jump in this game?
Like, which thing on here is the laser trip bombs? And,
Right.
and yeah.
Proximity mines.
Yeah. No, and that's where some of the funniest things I've seen where it's, I love that one video. It's like, well, I've lived in Los Santos for 3 years, so let me show you around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're always getting into fights with guys like these, you know, and you know, she's just looking at the construction workers, and she's like, you're gonna pick a fight with them. It's like, no, they're gonna pick a fight with me. Here, watch. And you just go stand in there, and if you just hang out next to people, they'll eventually start to fight with you, and it's like, well, somebody called the cops, so we have to run. And it's like, well, that's what you do when you come to Los Santos. It's like, what? It's like, well, you steal a car. It's like, what? It's like, they're all over the place. Go get yourself one. It's like, how do you do that? It's like, well, you just use your elbow.
Yeah,
and
you press Y. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that second part where, the other person took over. They're like, what are you doing? It's like, well, the stoplight's red.
I remember playing LA Noire trying to obey traffic laws. Because I was a fucking cop. And Rusty would bitch at you. He'd be like, hit the horn and go around him, So then when you plowed over someone, he'd be like, Jesus, Cole. You said. Yeah, exactly. There's a YouTube video I saw of a guy who was just like absolutely nuts in this game because he was doing it in the VR because they came out with VR version.
For LA Noire?
Yes, a couple of years ago. So
okay, I can see that being kind of immersive in a weirdly stupid way.
well, and that's the thing is they went through and they made it so that you could basically pick up fucking anything, and so like the story was all the same as shit. But watching this guy try and drive a car in VR. So, yeah, exactly. It's just like, just keeping the gas all the way down, just all the way through fucking streets of Los Angeles. So, yeah. No, that game was a trip. So, but yeah, nah. Like, Red Dead Online wasn't. I think I played GTA Online for like maybe a day.
It's a madhouse.
Well, I had just finished the game,
yeah,
and so I was kind of like, I'm kind of done. So, but yeah, you're right. It is an absolute madhouse. So the minute that I get fucking like some guy crashes his F-16 onto me,
right?
So, and I just got here, guys. So it's like I just got out of the casino. Yeah.
I know, and it's. Nobody has any real authority there because there's a part of you that wants. It's like that game desperately needed like a designated adult button where that person could be guys,
right,
right? And obviously we're not going to pile in the chat and be like, let's organize this. Let's let's have a serious talk about how we're going to do this. This is a fucking GTA Online.
Right,
You're playing with fucking lunatics. Yeah. You're there because you want to play with lunatics. Yeah. And yeah, it's utterly bizarre. And whatever you play is going to be whatever your fucked up narrative is that you're going to install.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some RP players on Twitch that are really kind of fun to watch.
Great, fun to watch. Like,
it is great when there's like 3 of them and they're all in the same. They're all in the same server, but then they have separate streams, and so it's like cops versus robbers and shit. That's fucking great,
Absolutely,
man. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's like a brilliant use of not just that game, but also that platform. And so like there's one, but I mean, of course, you do those on closed servers. So, so you don't get rocket bike guys. You're going to kamikaze
with
you.
some stupid fucking Mad Max uniform and,
It's cyberpunk.
The SSRI crowd.
The SSRI crowd, yeah, exactly. So
it's so diminutive, I'm sorry, but...
That's okay, man. How many people have been taking that shit off their Twitter handles lately?
I don't even want to get into that. Okay. All I can tell you is there's an ongoing joke about the only thing that people are concerned about is the current thing is the most important thing ever. Ukrainian flag's been way out.
Is it out now? Finally?
Absolutely, yes. Taiwanese flags came in somehow. Like, these people even know what half the story is, and that now it's even the things that seemed like a big deal, right? So it seemed like the the perennially butthurt found their perfect target in Ron DeSantis with the "Don't Say Gay" stuff, and it's like, wow, this guy seems like he would be an easy mark for you guys to just like keep harping on. That's done. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Like I go out there and I occasionally try to poke the abortion crowd every now and then, and I get a little bit of a fight.
The pro or anti?
Mostly the pro, because they're the ones that are the most angry.
Oh, after Roe?
Yeah, they're the ones that are the most upset. So, I mean, that's the thing is you want to go after the people that are wound up, because if you go after the other people, the problem is you're dangerously close to actually starting a discussion. Which, like, I don't do this. I just want to bother you.
It's a PvP game.
Yeah.
I'm not here for the story.
And as a matter of fact, I have a little bit of like a rope-a-dope tactic, so like, I'll go. Pat, you'd be proud of me, right? So
I'm always proud of you, buddy.
So this is the technique is since you're going in inflammatory and you want to be like the first in there so that people are seeing what you're saying, right? You go in there with an uncapitalized, just brief, like, witty insult, sort of.
Sure.
Right?
A jab.
Absolutely. And what you're waiting for is you wait for somebody to bite and they jump in and they look at your sort of like speed language, and then what happens is
what is speed language?
Well, so that's where you no periods, no caps. No,
got it.
Right, so they come in there and they think you're just a half-wit making a joke, and so you wait for them to actually engage, and then when they do, and they try to be like, well, look at me, how smart I am, and then you come in there and you lay into them and you say, you come in there with the essay. Right, and it's like, okay, here you go.
The
right.
Twitter
Watch
essay?
This. Yeah, well, so basically that's where, look, when it comes to grammar and argument making and things like that, that's where they think they're picking on somebody dumb, and then your very next tweet is, well, actually, that's patently false, and I can tell you why. Starting in 1957, okay, this is a time period that started. It's strangely called the Troubles, but it's right?
Yeah.
And you come in there, and that's where the rope-a-dope come in. That's fun. You have to get people to bite, though. You have to go out there with an extremely inflammatory statement so that people come.
Well, yeah, nobody's going to read that dissertation.
Yeah.
So if you're just inserting yourself in the conversation at that point in time. I noticed that with some of the guys on my YouTube channel. They'll write, like, I don't know the word count, but, like, if it goes past 2 read mores, I'm done. Kind of thing. So it's like, come on, man. So, and there's so many people there. You should do a Discord. I'm like, absolutely not. So, yeah. I'm like, not a fucking chance, man. So, because this is just like the YouTubing that I do is very, very. It takes like an hour and a half a week, and if I play the same game too much like that, I get bored of it. So I literally do not play that game. All right, until it's time to cut another video or something on it.
Right.
I don't touch it. I'm not sitting there trying to get better at it and shit. And so. When I see other YouTubers who are just grinding out content. Like, this is one guy, I really like him, and he's trying to, like, he's kind of in my genre and stuff like that. He does a good job. But, man, the motherfucker just puts out content like a fire hose.
It's a Play-Doh press, huh?
I cannot, that's a great analogy. It is absolutely a Play-Doh press, and he's got, like, 4 different games going on at a time.
Oh, my God!
He's mixing all the colors, man. So, and I just cannot keep up. I actually raised my hand on him a couple weeks ago. I was like, bro, I like your stuff, but I can't watch it all. So, and I didn't get a response from that, but whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you're a small YouTuber like that, you'd be surprised how often people are looking for some kind of engagement. So,
But what kind of engagement? Engagement is... The problem here is that's a loaded term.
Oh,
right?
it absolutely is. But that's that's how you drive the algorithm in a lot of ways.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
So you can have a couple different types of engagement. Me personally, I'm a wounded dog guy. So I assume everybody's pissed off about something. So when people say, hey, you know, they offer criticism, I'm like, hey, thanks, I'll try that next time. Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm very nice.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. And so you taught me that on Call of Duty. So years ago.
No, that was a Street Fighter thing, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It's that's specific positive feedback,
Yep.
not just general.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. Yep, specific positive feedback. You need to be surprised how well people respond to that. In fact, like so many people don't fucking expect it. I've had guys on there who, they'll start tearing me up for, you should have done this, you should have done this, you should do that. I was like, oh, those are all great pointers. Thanks, appreciate it. And they're trying to burn me.
Yeah.
And then so they'll try it again. I'll say the same thing. Hey, I tried that. It worked out pretty good. Thanks for that. You know,
I appreciate you taking the time, man. You know, it's not everybody takes the time to actually watch, and it's like, this is how I get better. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And next thing I know, man, people are like really cool.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
It's like secret sauce, man. It's like, what do you put in this? Tony Chachere? You know?
I get it, man. Yeah. That's the weird thing. Because ultimately this is the weird thing that I've been discovering just in general, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you can probably testify to this too, is the more I spend time with the absolute dregs of humanity, basically the cartoon versions of themselves
on Twitter,
on places like Twitter and different parts of the internet, and you know, some of the other dorky places I hang out, like, the more I come to appreciate what are actual human beings, and what those people are, those commenters are real human beings, right? They are not the people who are, oh dear God, somebody in Munich 10 years ago had a tweet that was anti-trans.
Oh my God, yeah.
Time to put on my, I don't know, what's the helmet with the spike on it called? Like
the pickle helmet?
Yeah. Time to put on my virtual
pickle helmet. I like it.
And
better report to the readiness center. We're going to war, you know.
Exactly. And you go to the barracks and you put on your ugly, you know, fucking pink, blue, and white Hugo Boss fatigues. And yeah.
Oh my God! I wonder how many people in that crowd know that Hugo Boss actually designed the SS uniforms.
They know. Well, Patrick, if you mention it to them, okay, they're one Wikipedia trip away from saying, "I knew this all along." Did you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. One quick trip, one quick jaunt over to Wikipedia.
From being a certified expert.
Expert.
Yeah, so there is that. No, so yeah, they go out there and they put on their fucking trans Schustaffel bolts and they're like, all right, well, no, regardless of what actions you've taken in the past 10 years following, you are and always will be a TERF. And
transphobic.
Yeah, and we need to nail you to the cross.
Right. Yeah, go for it. Try. So you can bring out fucking Nerf nails. You know.
Of course.
Knock yourself out, boys. So.
And I will never, you know, argue against anybody's validity, but there's just a thing where you just want, like, you're in a state of being pissed off, and that's all you want to do. And I hate to say it, this is not a valid contribution to society.
No, it's like I was thinking about that after you and I were talking about that the other night after the podcast a little bit.
That's where the juicy shit came out, guys.
Oh yeah. So
that was coffee after bed after dark.
Coffee after bed after podcast.
After
coffee.
dark, yeah.
And there's this thing that I think you've got your finger kind of on, that there's this like crowd on left, your progressive left, And I mean, I buy like some of the arguments, like Murray's argument that like it's basically economic bitching. So in some ways, that's absolutely true. But like the tactics they use, it can be summed up as I'm going to tell teacher on you.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And I started thinking about that in so many different ways that just kind of applies. It's like, well, so if you just out me on something, you expect some kind of action to take place.
Mm-hmm.
But no action takes place. So you're going to do it harder.
Right.
Or you're going to go find somebody else to do it too.
Right.
But it was that whole thing about trying to cost somebody their job.
Yes.
Kind of thing. And sometimes that works in certain circles, of course. But it just seems like it's much, much less effective. Yet it seems like every time that, like, we were talking about Alex Jones in particular, I think.
Yeah,
it was.
We were.
Yeah, and how like, okay, so the guy's got $500 million stashed away somewhere, so $50 billion is not going to put him out of business. By any means stretch of the imagination, let alone if that actually gets junked and he gets limited to 10%. So of his revenues in a given year. Okay, that's a year. So
and 10% of it.
And 10% of it, yeah. So, that's just like those aren't the right tools for that kind of work, so to speak. But the whole idea is that, well, if we just scream loud enough about this, all right, and try and shame you, like literally the Game of Thrones kind of throw shit on you enough at some point in time, it doesn't mean you're not queen anymore. By the time you get back to the Red Keep. So, and like, there's just this thing about it.
The metaphor's lost on me, but I appreciate.
Oh, did you not watch Game of Thrones?
I've seen a quarter of one episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's a very famous instance in the series. Okay. So, but anyway.
So people in the know will be like,
ooh, okay. Yeah. So it's where you get to see who is it? Lena Headley. I can't remember her name.
Oh, I know her.
Yeah, you know her.
She's in other movies, yeah.
Yeah, oh, right, yeah. So, but they basically fling shit at her for an entire episode. So, yeah, okay. No, it kind of goes there. But anyway, so, but like, you should get back in Castle. She's still a queen, and now she just fucking hates the people. Okay, and so that doesn't work out in the end. All right. So, but at the same point in time, like in this one, what do? They just either A, find different targets, or B, they just get that much more agitated, or C, they just start looking for new issues. And that's why it's constantly like there's nothing good enough. There never will be anything good enough. There's no satisfaction here fundamentally because the method by which they're actually going about this is all based upon the fact that, like, even the progressive left, there's people in there who don't agree with each other on it. Okay, they can't even sort out their differences between them because you got like legit ones. Like I would say Bernie Sanders is one of these guys. He's like, the problems are economic. Let's talk about those.
Yeah.
Okay, but everybody else, and like a lot of other people, well, yeah, no, we're really into that. The problems are all economic, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but, we're not winning that fight because our argument sucks. And so rather than come up with a better argument, well, let's like agitate, and let's well, we can help out trans, and so let's do that. All right, so yeah. And so it's like, well, no, you need to come up with a better argument than Marxism. So, because I think most of us are kind of wise to that shit. All right. Once you get a few assets under your belt, which is going to happen to all the people who are doing this.
Sure.
At some point in time, they're going to change their tune too. So, because they'll be like, oh, well, I didn't mean my 401k.
So, you're absolutely right. And if the left really wanted to improve itself, right? In a way that would call people like me who were, classic on this side back to it, right?
Sure.
It's sort of like knowing your friends well enough to be like, okay, so this is Ted. It's like, yeah, it's like Ted's the coolest guy you know. It's like, all right, yeah, go on. It's like, all right. However, don't ever pick on Ted's brother. Ted's brother had a rough time growing up. And if you want to see a perfectly nice guy go from 0 to nuclear in 2 seconds, say something about Ted's brother. And there needs to be something where, in the discourse on the left, they need to agree to, we've got to leave like the Ted's brother arguments out of this, right? So you can't go into this and say, you can't go into the Bernie Sanders, you can't go ahead and take these heads here and say like, let's discuss what the real problems are, right? And as you're discussing it, you can't let people just basically kick in the door while you're having this discussion to say, no, you don't get it. There can never be any justice on stolen land.
Right, yeah.
Like, thanks. That accomplishes fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. But great. We're all looking at you. How do you solve that problem?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were really close to implementing this system, but no. You had to bring this in. And again,
No.
you cannot let people into the discussion that have no goddamn measurables, right? So when it comes down to it, it's like, so you're advocating, it's like, well, you're talking about trans erasure. Okay, measure it. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Who's erasing it? Where?
Yeah.
Why? Right? It's like, it's happening all the time. Okay, prove it. Show me.
Show me, please.
Okay, because if you show me the statistics, you are the safest marginalized group,
Ever.
right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still fling gay people off tops of buildings in Iran. And so
They do.
they don't do that here.
They don't.
Yeah. Not even the trans. So
And you need to be willing to accept that utter indifference is not phobia, right? You have to understand that people don't care about your problems on a good day, right?
Right.
They don't care about my problems. They
Yeah.
don't care about yours.
Nope.
They're worried about so my hot water heater's on its last leg, right?
Right.
It just needs to last me 2 more weeks, and
Till I
then
get
things
paid.
will be okay.
Yeah.
But what they think is, even though my hot water heater threatens my entire existence, I fucking hate trans people all day long.
Yeah.
I write it. I'm scratching it into every table with a knife.
In every bar in the state. Yeah. So we're gonna turn this back into the hate state. Yeah.
Whereas generally, the baseline is indifference, and that's fine.
That's your starting point.
That's great.
Yeah, that's your starting point. And like, well, and I mean, I've been explaining this to students for years. I mean, finding someone who's bona fidely like racist in some respects is fucking hard. Okay, and actually, someone put this. It might have been Murray. It might have been a different book that I was reading lately. Is that there is a extreme supply problem with racism.
Yes.
So the demand vastly outstrips the supply. I can't remember. He might have said that. It might have been.
Oh my God.
It might have been Andrew Sullivan. It was somebody. Yeah. So there's an equilibrium problem here in the supply and demand. And so there's a huge demand for racists, and there are a very, very small supply.
Well, the funny thing too is, like, if you get into that, then you have that point where this is where it is completely counterproductive, because if you're walking around and basically you have that attitude of like no bad tactics, right? So you go out there and you see like, okay, this person said a transphobic thing, okay? Or, you know, they were indifferent, or they misgendered somebody or whatever, and they said, we're going to go after his job, okay? You have somebody that's like, well, I wasn't transphobic before, but you cost me my job.
Yeah.
I really hate you now.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Which is, no, Patrick, okay.
It does make you a little bit more gun shy. I will attest to that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and it makes you question, like, so you will see some radical shit. Well, I guess like the opposite of radical shit, but like, you know, like usually people who are affected by that issue in a way that really had nothing to do with them in the beginning, those are the ones who start circulating those fucking newsletters and shit. You know, so. You know, because I had seen that a couple times, like, over the course of my career, where I saw, like, hints of it here and there. You know, but all you had to do was kind of, like, scratch the surface. And it was, like, either, like, one of those things where, well, I grew up in this neighborhood, it was like this, and, you know, these guys used to beat the shit, used to beat the shit out of my kid brother, you know, kind of thing. And so I hate Mexican gangs, you know, and so that eventually becomes Mexicans, you know, kind of thing. So it's kind of a slippery slope. But it doesn't really work out that way very often, and so and those are not your baseline cases. So
No, because you're talking about it's a baseline case. It would be a baseline case based off of an extraordinary event.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it, by definition, can't.
Unless you were born into a family that's like that, there's just not there are not that many of those left. So I mean, you can find them all the place over in parts of not America. So. In fact, very common in most of not America. So, yeah.
Okay, this was one of the more embarrassing things that I witnessed recently was so you're familiar with the non-America place called India.
I am very familiar. Yeah.
Okay. And you're aware of a certain archaic system that they still cling to despite it being utterly disgusting by all modern standards, right?
That is such a so I know a few people from India who are very cool. Most of them are completely Americanized
Absolutely.
at this point in time, and even they don't want to talk about that.
No, they don't.
So
They don't. And what really amazes me, because this was like a 3-day controversy that I was just laughing my balls off, because I'm like, you have all the anger but none of the research. So they're picking on like Dove and Nivea and they're tearing into them. It's like, how can you be?
What is Dove?
Oh, the product company that make the soap and skincare products, and they're tearing into this. Like, I cannot believe that you are still selling skin whitening products in India, right? They're blowing up on them. They're like, how can you be like? They treat it like this is like an imperialism thing, and like I didn't say anything. I was just like, I'm gonna let this one play out the way that it does, because
See how it goes.
somebody from India will actually straighten them out, right? Because the whole thing is, they're there selling this stuff because of this cockamamie fucking caste system that they have.
Sure.
Where, why do people whiten their skin in India? Because it makes them look like less of one of the deplorables.
Yeah, exactly.
That is their value system, not ours.
Yeah.
Right? But they somehow took this as Los Estados Unidos is over there imposing their, like,
we want to whiten you guys up.
Whiten you up.
Oh my god! How could you be so fucking stupid, man?
Fucking stupid.
So, I mean, like 5 minutes of cursory research would tell you exactly what's going on there. So, and like, So I don't know, man. India is a tough one for me because I have met some people who are amazing from India.
Absolutely amazing.
And I've met some people who are like
dog shit.
Yeah, no, I was like, it's
Utter
like, oh my god, where's my wallet? It's going in my front pocket now, kind of thing. So it's complete. I think, like, of all the nationalities that I've dealt with maybe the exceptions of the Saudis, because I had those batches of Saudi students, and that was very weird. Okay, but then, like, so I've had many Indian students over the years, sometimes in batches as well. Yeah. And like I said, some of them are amazing people, and others of them, it's like, you could just tell, like, after just a few questions that they throw your way as an educator, that it was like, oh, you're trying to figure out how to do all of this without getting, well, I could get an A in this class without doing any work. Got it. Man, you need to be a little bit less transparent about that,
or more. Either ask me directly, right?
Yeah, either ask me directly.
Either have the nuts to say, like, this is what I want.
Right? Yeah, I will write you a check, kind of thing.
So, well, I can't do that, but I can help you devise a minimum effort matrix.
Yeah, well, I don't think I've actually gotten closer to the point of getting bribed than by a couple Indian students. My Chinese students, like, I'm a little bit more suspicious now. But I gotta tell you, all the Chinese students that I had were pretty legit. But the one thing that I have noticed about most of them is that they could not speak English. So they probably said on a test somewhere that they could speak English, and their papers were immaculate. Okay, and so this was highly suspicious once I noticed the pattern. So, it was like, man, you don't even know what I just asked you, Right. So you just threw this thing through the Google Translate, and then, I don't know if you wrote this, because I can tell when a paper's been written in a foreign language and then thrown through the Google button, the translator thing, and I usually don't have a problem with that, especially if English isn't their native language. That's fine. Okay, but then when I have somebody who does that for certain assignments, and then I get a suddenly pristine one that's worth a lot of points, I get really suspicious. So, I've only caught a couple students doing that. So, over the years, but that's because they failed to prosecute most. Okay.
What are you gonna do?
That my docket's full. It's Friday afternoon. Fuck it. You know.
It's a docket full, and it's also like when you go into something like this, there's also a question of it only takes a couple of times for you to take a moral high stand and immediately not have your supervisors back you before you're like, you know what, it's not worth it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's the administration that you work for,
No.
but I've had that happen in the past where it's like, you know what, unless you actually take my back when I call out plagiarism or something, then I won't do it. Because that is too much of a, like...
It could blow up in your face. So
even if I'm completely right.
Yeah,
unless I get
completely
supported on this, right?
So I've never really had a problem. I've only had to call out a few students on plagiarism over the years. Usually what I do is I have a very different like approach than what, you know, the people at the library tell me I should do.
I know what they tell you.
Yeah, you know, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, you need to get your Hugo bosses on. You know? Oh, we're going to war, boys. You know? No. And so what I usually do is like, because I've got a few people who pull things directly off the internet, and that's very easy to find. So you just go, you just go about 3 lines down, and you screen grab a sentence, and you throw it in the Google with quotes around it. You'll find it real fast. Yeah. So. You know, I mean, I've seen a lot of students who think they're clever, and so they'll change the first line. And that probably fools quite a few of my colleagues, to be honest. But if you just rando select something in the middle of the paper or something way down, you know, that like, or like the meteor parts, you'll find it real fast. And so in those situations, I turn around and I'm like, hey, look what I found. This is what you turned in. I found this. All right, this is a problem. All right. So you can either take a 0 on this, redo it. I'm fine with that. All right. Or not redo it and take a 0 on it. That's fine too. You can walk away and pretend nothing happened here. So, or if you want to fight me on this, let's go. So kind of thing. And I've never had one say, oh yeah. So, in fact, I've never caught someone trying to do that twice. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And of course, you just outed yourself, and so now I'm definitely watching you. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, but it is one of those things where, like, okay, so the people who do that, of course, the stereotype does fit. Athletes do it all the time. So, and then, yeah, foreign exchange students, so are the other ones. So, and not the ones from Europe. So I've never caught one from Europe do it. It's almost like they would be offended, you know, in some respects. So
Right. It's not quite like a Klingon honor. It's just not done.
no, it's just not how you do business.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's completely different.
It
And that
defeats the purpose of learning.
that ties into my Italian story. So no, I can't tell the story tonight. Okay, it hasn't resolved yet. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm waiting on an email, but I think you're gonna like it.
Okay.
Because somebody, one of its former students, he's very, very upset with Italian American men at the moment. So
And this is an actual bona fide
yes,
Italian. Yeah.
no, she's not. So she's not.
Oh.
So yeah. No. So, but it's interesting. You'll like it. So
Well, because I mean, I have seen some of that where I think the way it was said to me, and this was where it became funny, was like, so, you know, there's shit that I've tried to engage in, but it just hasn't landed with me. And the best example I could say is I have given soccer a fair shake.
Sure.
It just has not grabbed me.
yeah.
Right. But I have never just like jumped in there and said like, well, my neighborhood said this was a foofy sport, so I'm never going to give it a shot. Right.
Right.
All right. Now, the way that's been said to me, like the difference between Italians and Italian Americans is like if you're in a certain place with a bunch of Italian Americans, when the World Cup happens,
Right.
a lot of phony baloney suddenly have those Italy flags flapping from their
Oh yeah.
cars.
Well, it's just like Irish and St. Patrick's Day. So, you know, there's a lot of people who just I don't know what it is, man. I was actually arguing with my mom about that yesterday.
Were you?
Yeah, of all things. So, she's like, I can't remember how it came up, but it had to do with nationality or something like that. She's like, "Well, Patrick, you're Dutch and Irish." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm American." You know, it's
Right.
like I've never been to either of those places. Okay, I don't know anybody from those. Well, I do know someone from the Netherlands, but no, actually no, she's from Belgium. So,
And you have known people from Ireland.
I know one guy. He's a colleague of mine, but he was actually American and then moved to Ireland for like 40 years.
Well, I was going to say, like, you had relatives that...
I never met any relatives directly from Ireland.
I thought your grandmother was.
Oh yeah, she was, but she was like 3 when she came over here.
Never mind.
So
okay.
yeah.
Oh, never mind. I thought she was older.
No,
okay,
no. She was a little girl.
God, she was an Ellis Islander then. For
she
sure.
was. Yeah, she went through Ellis Island.
Yeah.
The last wave, 1920s. So yeah, but then there was this thing about like identifying with your nationality as a way to kind of separate yourself from the crowd. It's no different than fucking tattoos showing at what point in time you missed your last therapy session. You know, so.
This is one of the things I noticed. Again, this is the seeing the detrimental part of humanity online. And there's the stuff that hurts is when you can see a little bit of like your high school self in there.
Oh yeah.
Right? But the problem is here you're looking at a 45-year-old, man or woman, right? And one of the problem with the perpetually online crowd, and this goes with the nationality identifiers, right, and all this other stuff, is you are choosing some of what I consider to be the least interesting parts of a person's identity to take interest in. So, the two I see in there, yes, is like you said, the people who suddenly become 100% Irish when the World Cup starts, and likewise, the people who your identity is a fan of this media.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me where if I go back to high school, there's like, yes, I said that I liked these bands. I would be like a super fan of these things. I made excuses for them. I excluded other music because it's not as good as this, right?
Yeah.
And there's a corniness to this that you really start to grow out by the age of like 20, right?
Yeah.
Because
25-ish.
Yeah, because if you're that rigidly adhered to how much you like Slayer, and
Winger.
other guys are about as different on the spectrum as you can get.
I know.
But if you're that rigidly attached to it, it makes it very hard to actually relate to, girls who are not into Slayer, right?
Sure.
They're like, well, why don't you listen to this No Doubt CD? And part of you is like, no, I listen to Slayer. I don't know why I'm talking to you.
Right, yeah.
But, of course, you're like, okay, I'll listen to it. And then, of course, you lie. You say you like it. But, But that's something that causes you to grow out of this, right? Because, when you realize it, being a fan of something is not a substitute for personality.
No, you can put as many bumper stickers on yourself like that, and it doesn't really fundamentally change anything about who you are, and so. Oh man, you're right. I totally see people who are 45 and fucking do that, or still are just totally committed to it, and it's like something that most people grow out of when they're 25.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, or I don't even know if it's like an age thing, or you just have to go through certain types of shit.
Yes.
In order to realize it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
And if someone like I don't know, he's like being such a diehard fan of something is such a central part of your personality. It's because you're basically throwing Kool-Aid, into the I guess something that would be more nutritious for you.
Oh,
and calling it the same thing. I don't know where I was going with that metaphor, but you're basically substituting something that's marketed, for something that you actually need to like focus on yourself and develop yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because what you're doing is you're letting somebody else write the shorthand for your personality.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's the fucking problem with politics right now. So many people are doing that, man. So yeah. And so I see a lot of people who, God, I know some guys who went complete Trumpy. Because it became kind of like this, almost this like religion.
Yes. A cult-like status, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, now that I look back on a couple people that I know who did that, man, one guy was going through a lot of shit in his life where things were just going bad. His marriage was going south. He was losing his kids.
Take him in?
Yeah, it did. It totally fucking did, man. So, and all of a sudden he became an expert on everything in Trumplandia, And, he would spend his time online just diving into all this shit. And now that I can look back on it, man, I've had students who went completely the other way, where, get out of a bad relationship or something like that, and then all of a sudden, man, you're the campus activist for this and this.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck, man? So, you were so chill 6 months ago. What happened? Kind of thing.
I get it. Look, it's the same thing where you have a lot of people is like, well, I was never into skydiving before I quit drinking. Right? So I get that, where it's like, all right, so I needed something to fill that void. But
quit drinking.
The thing you should never fill it with is like anger about indigenous rights or something.
Right.
It's just this, because you don't care, right? You really don't care.
No. Well, and we were talking about that. What were we talking about a couple of weeks ago when it came to male feminists?
Oh yeah.
As predators or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Sheep in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Where it's like, do you really understand this issue? Do you really care about this issue, or do you like the fact that there's a whole bunch of single women here?
Oh, well,
this one's pretty easy from my standpoint. You might be legit on that one, but my baseline case is, I know why you're here.
Well,
yeah. So, and so I see that as just being this really obvious, almost venal, but also, well, it is venal, but it's also it's nobody's going to really blame you for that, So it's yeah, okay, man, whatever turns you crank. So, but at the same point in time, it's also well, be upfront about it if you get called out about it. So,
there is that. And again, it's you can kind of tell which people are the fakest about this because they're the most animated about it.
Exactly.
Why? Because they're trying to show people exactly how down with this situation they've been since day one.
Yeah, there's dancing birds in fucking planet Earth, man. The ones that actually do the most.
Yeah,
are trying to attract and mate the artist.
Exactly. Yeah, it's okay, so you're the world's super feminist and have been so since you say 83, which means you were 3 at the time.
Well, that guy would still be in his 40s. That'd not be a problem.
Oh, exactly. But then you try to apply that logic. It's well, you must be some kind of super genius then, right? No. I'm it's funny because when I was 3, I didn't want to be an astronaut. I wanted to be the space shuttle. Right. So you must... So no, that's quite all right. No, that's fine. I know what my IQ is. Yours must be 15 points ahead of mine.
Right.
Okay, understand. I'm dealing with a super genius. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, here's my card.
Wrote it on the card. Yeah. Which I've been tempted to do. That's a waste of money and time because I'm only going to give out those cards to you. So
yeah. Yeah, just make sure you have appointment slots on the back.
Yeah. But that's a waste of resources. But yeah, that's the thing is okay, so if you're this into this, then yeah, you're trying to convince other people that of this, which means your motives are not altruistic.
No, they're not altruistic. Oh, good segue. Speaking of non-altruistic motives amongst predators. Fuck, why is it so hard to find information on Dan Schneider? You scrape down just a little bit, there's all kinds of shit there. Okay, right. But you have to go to I'm not going to say weird websites, but you have to go to you have to come at it orthogonally. So you have to go to legal websites to find this shit. What the fuck, man?
You have to go one of two ways. You have to so if you go into this with just basic news, right? You'll get half or a quarter of the story.
Exactly. Well, you get enough to actually be able to peel back certain other things when you start Googling particular names.
They implicate things.
Exactly.
But they don't say anything. And
Correct.
then in order to actually get deeper versions of the story, like you said, either you're going into the really technical stuff, or you end up in places where it's a lot of, well, I knew a guy who...
Yeah, so I found some of those and I stopped going to those things. Okay, but if you actually go through and if you actually start looking at like some of like Los Angeles news sources,
Yeah.
then you start finding all kinds of shit. So it's like almost this like, okay, so the local media is fine talking about this. What the fuck is wrong with the national media?
Right.
So I don't get it, man. It was like, because the first time you told me about it, I was like, okay, yeah, I've heard that. Let me go dig into it a little bit. Man, just a cursory like search is like Dan Schneider fucking sex abuse allegations gets you jack shit. So, but then you start finding certain names that are involved with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you start Googling those.
And people start talking about... They kind of Voldemort it. They kind of
They do Voldemort it.
They're just like,
Yeah.
he who shall not be named.
Exactly.
They
They say an executive producer with Nickelodeon. And we're
Yeah.
like, there's one on the credits, so we know
Yeah.
who this is. Why
Right.
aren't you just saying who it is?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, because all you had to do is, like, there was a couple girls that I looked up there, and of course, both of them are, like, you know, inappropriate relations to the executive producer, this is the complaint filing, blah, 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 all this stuff. And so you can find all that shit. So, but it names them as executive producer for this show. You go to the show, fucking IMDb, there is an executive producer. It's him.
This name keeps appearing.
Right.
Yeah, it's... Well, and the scuttlebutt on this, again, this is where it comes into the people that, you know, were sort of in the know, or guys, it's like, okay, I knew about this, but you can't completely verify it.
Sure.
Right? The argument here, and I don't have a hard time believing this, for saying, like, look, Nickelodeon knew, okay?
They had to.
They said they were complicit. They said what you can look up is, I think there's a database where you can look at settlements. And there's a place where you can find settlements with people, right?
That's, you find them in like local LA papers and stuff. Yeah.
But that's, remember, settlements are not an admission of guilt, but
No,
but all these settlements are done from Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that Nickelodeon went through a metamorphosis as a network. That's why they're actually the powerhouse that they are,
Sure.
right? Is they were able to transform from what was a kids network, okay,
Yeah.
and capture that valuable, basically like 11 to 17 girl
exactly.
crowd.
Yeah.
And for them, that's a gold mine, right?
Well, it's where they belong in the market because you're going to get crowded out everywhere else anymore.
And when you have somebody that actually takes you there successfully and has these things where it's like, okay, I have these attachments, I have these people, they're into it. It's not a cult, it's just getting the attention of teenage girls is so difficult. And when you have that group and they're saying, we've got them, and this guy brings them, my understanding is like, we know if people ask for money, we're going to pay it because this is paying out huge dividends.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's the way it's presented is it's like it's the worst kept secret in Hollywood.
Yeah. So, and then they cut ties with him a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So with the final, like, okay, here's your check, and here's
Yeah.
you sign this, press hard, 3 copies.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. We won't say any shit, and you won't say shit.
Right.
Because, like, obviously we both have dirt on each other. So
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just, you know, amicably part of like the actual statement on Nickelodeon's like press release at the time is so vanilla. It's not even funny. So, and then like, but then, like I said, all you do is you just start cross-referencing names on things, and then you find the settlement payment, and then you find another one, and you find the settlement payment, and you find another one, and another one, and it's like, holy shit, man. So, I mean, and God, you talk about a guy who's a walrus, man. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So that dude. So he's like Harvey Weinstein without the stubble, man. It's weird.
He absolutely is. And the weird thing is, then you get into it, and these are the parts that, you know, kind of get under my skin, are, all right, then you look at the string of these people that have been, like, filing on these things, and you see, like, wow, there's a lot of people with, like, really fucked up relationships, really fucked up, you know, views towards sexuality and weird things.
Yeah, a lot of stints in rehab.
You know, and of course, you know, that's sort of endemic with that, you know, particular lifestyle. I'm like, if you don't think for a second that that was aided along by very inappropriate, handlings by your parents and, predators,
Right.
you're dead wrong.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Right? And again, this is the thing where I hate to, bring it back to this, but I'm going to, is it really pisses me off when shows like movies like La La Land win because they're like, isn't Hollywood great? Like, yeah. You guys keep saying.
Somebody racing a lawnmower?
I don't know if you guys heard it.
Yeah.
But some really cool guys just drove by my house.
Really cool guys.
Really cool guy. Yeah, and that's the thing that gets under my skin is anything that anytime that something comes out that is, basically a fillets Hollywood, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're like, oh no, this is a magical place. This is where if you're a Kentucky person and you've got a dream and some talent, this place has got a spot for you. I'm like, yeah. And that's where I get into it. Like I've discussed this with Will. I'm like, women actors are terrible, right? By and large, every woman you see in a movie gets acted circles around by her male counterparts, right? And then you say, all right, so unless you're somebody who's here like Kathy Bates, or obviously nobody was jerking off to her back in the day, but it's like, so how did you get in here?
Yeah.
Talent alone, right?
Yeah.
And then you just look at this like, you're hiring people because they fit the look of who your character is.
Yeah. You probably hire them maybe 20 seconds after they walk through the door.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't know. You do have some people like they get some roles like that, and then after a while they actually turn it. They
get better.
Good. Yeah. So that's definitely happened. But I mean, if you're like a 22-year-old dude, you better have some fucking pedigree behind you.
Or chops out the ass.
Or chops. Yeah. Otherwise, you can put on as many muscles as you want.
Yep.
Everybody else has already got them.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's not going to do it for you. Yeah, you got to have some chops, and you got to have the look. Or you get cast as one of the ugly guy roles.
Yep.
And you can run that for quite a while, but you'll never do anything else.
Nope.
So no, if you're Steve Buscemi, that's who you are.
And that's not to say that I wouldn't watch a movie where he leads. But
no, I would.
Exactly, but what I do know is that Hollywood guys are like, no, lead. Yeah, right. This guy?
No way.
It's like, and then you break it down. It's like, what has he got going for him? I was like, well, he's a dynamite actor. It's like, yeah, so. Yeah. It's like, he's former FDNY, right? It's
right, yeah, he was there on 9/11.
It's like, so. It's like, and he came in there and he volunteered on 9/11 because he was already out. It's like, so. He's butt ugly. He doesn't lead.
Same thing with Adam Driver. He was a Marine, so. Yeah, I guess the only guy who gets away with that is still Benedict Cumbersnatch. So.
Well, and that dude got it because he put in his chops in the BBC and basically. Right. Okay, one last thing before I quit. When it comes to this is another one of those not America kind of stories.
All right, let's end on a not America.
Not America story. Okay, so there's this conception, right? When people sit there and look at American television, they say, you guys are bereft of any form of originality in programming. You just take a look and see what the British are doing, and you rip it off, right? Because, there's lots of rip-off shows going on there.
Sure.
All right. Now, through my ventures into the entertainment world and having seen what counts as programming, okay, here's what I have found. This snake doesn't just eat its own tail. This is more of a human centipede, right? So, okay.
Please tell me it doesn't start in Japan, man.
No, that's different because it comes with a completely different, ethos of programming. But check this out. All right.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go watch that South Park episode.
So, what I've discovered is half of British programming is redoctored American stuff. Okay. The other half, okay, because a lot of what they'll do is they'll kind of like subtitle in or add like British parts. They rip off the Netherlands. They rip off
Oh, wow.
Scandinavian countries,
Yeah.
right? So this is where the human centipede part comes in is the British eat the shit of the Netherlands. I don't need to go any further.
Yeah, I think we got the idea.
You know
yeah.
where this tube goes, and it goes right back, and it's like, these guys aren't like geniuses of original content. They just rip off from different sources,
Right.
right? Which seems like originality, right? That's the whole thing, like when the Matrix came out in 1999. If anybody wasn't familiar with the cyberpunk things that came before it, they were
Right.
like, this is wholly original. I was like, oh, I was too. And then people started pointing like, well, did you watch this? Did you read this? Did you watch this? I'm like, no, I didn't. Why? It's like, well, because this is ripped off wholesale.
Right.
This is, like, they didn't even change the names here. This is, like...
Right, yeah. This is an actual reboot. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, so... Oh, but what makes it good is how you package the presentation. So if you're ripping off from places that people don't know about, it seems like, wow, you guys are geniuses.
Oh, yeah.
And I guarantee you that the Finnish and the people from Scandinavia and shit, I guarantee you they're plucking it from Germany or wherever, right? And they tweak it. They put their own spin on it. So you rip off their spin, then you put your spin on the British spin, would put the spin on this,
Yeah.
right? And that's why, like, yeah, Cocoa Puffs come in one end, but that's not what everybody's eating.
Right, yeah, not eventually, yeah.
And trust me, if you don't think that anus doesn't wrap all the way around to those other countries that are quote unquote originating those
yes,
shows,
somebody eventually rips off American TV.
absolutely.
Yeah.
If I'm sure there is some version of my 400 kilogram life.
Yeah.
I don't know how many pounds.
I don't know. 400 kilograms is like, yeah, a lot.
I don't know if that's like whale territory.
It's pretty close to whale
yeah,
territory, yeah. So
all right.
it'd definitely be part of the whale sanctuary.
Okay, yeah, all right. So there you go.
All right.
Anyway, so if you have any final thoughts, yeah.
Final thoughts? Not yet. Still waiting on what's going on with the FBI here. So
Well, they did say what they were looking for.
I'm not quite convinced. So
Nor am I.
I'm not quite convinced, but I am convinced that the DOD is behind it because they hate that motherfucker. So,
We're gonna give this one a few days.
yeah, we're gonna give this one a few days. Let the news build up. So that's all I got.
Yeah, because all I have right now is fucking scrying on both sides right now.
Yeah.
Which I don't count as news.
No, that's not news. Yeah.
That's just noise.
Yeah. There's a lot of noise.
Ton
So,
of noise.
all right, we'll let the noise die down.
Okay.
All right, I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
Thank you.